When a partner goes silent during a fight, your brain registers it as physical pain. It lights up the exact same neural pathways as a burn or a broken bone. But here is the tragic irony that ruins thousands of relationships every year. The reason men go silent is often biologically opposite to why women think they do. We tend to view silence as a weapon, a cold shoulder, a calculated way to punish the other person. But psychological research suggests that for one partner, silence isn't an act of war, it is a biological system crash. Misunderstanding this one signal is the #1 predictor of divorce. So what is actually happening behind the eyes of a person who shuts down, and why does the silence feel so loud to the person staring back at them? Let's dissect the anatomy of the silence trap. It usually starts with something small, a forgotten chore, a sarcastic comment about money, a tone of voice that feels slightly too sharp. But within minutes, the argument isn't about the dishes anymore. It becomes about the relationship itself. The volume rises, the accusations start flying, and then it happens. The dynamic shifts into the most dangerous pattern in relationship psychology. Psychologists call it the pursuer-distancer dance. One partner pushes for resolution, demanding to be heard, while the other physically remains in the room but emotionally vanishes. They look away. They stop responding. Their face goes blank. To the pursuer, this looks like apathy. It looks like they don't care. It looks like they are checking out because you aren't worth the effort. But if we could place a heart rate monitor and a brain scanner on the silent partner in that exact moment, the data would shock you. It would reveal that beneath that stone-cold exterior, there is a physiological firestorm burning out of control. While these behaviors can happen to anyone, regardless of gender, studies from the Gottman Institute have shown that in heterosexual relationships, 85% of stonewallers are men. Why? Is it because men are less emotional? Actually, the science suggests it is because they are easily too emotional. The male cardiovascular system is more reactive to stress during conflict. When an argument heats up, a man's blood pressure surges, his heart rate creates a rhythmic thumping in his ears, adrenaline dumps into the bloodstream. This state is called diffuse physiological arousal, or simply flooding. When the male brain hits this flooded state, usually when the heart rate exceeds 100 beats a minute, the frontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for empathy, logic, and listening, essentially goes offline. Think of it like an overheating computer. When the processor gets too hot, the fans spin at maximum speed and the screen freezes. It's not refusing to run the program to be difficult, it's shutting down to prevent permanent hardware damage. When a man stonewalls, he isn't usually thinking, "I'm going to ignore her to make her angry." His internal monologue is often a chaotic blur of, "Don't explode, don't say something you can't take back, just shut up, just stay quiet until the threat goes away." His silence is a clumsy shield. He creates a wall to protect himself from the overwhelming influx of emotion, but he fails to realize that the wall he built for protection looks exactly like a prison wall to his partner. Now, let's look at the other side of the room. What is happening in the female brain when she is met with this stone wall? Women generally have a higher physiological tolerance for emotional arousal. They can stay in the conflict longer without their frontal cortex shutting down. Their biological imperative during stress is often tend and befriend. They seek safety through connection and resolution. When her partner goes silent, her cortisol spikes, her anxiety screams that the relationship is in danger. She doesn't see a man who is flooded and trying to calm down. She sees a man who is withdrawing his love. To soothe her own anxiety, she needs a response. She needs reassurance. So she pursues. She asks questions. She raises her voice. She follows him into the other room. She is trying to get a reaction, any reaction, to prove that he is still there. And here lies the tragedy of the loop. The more she pursues to alleviate her anxiety, the more flooded he becomes. The more flooded he becomes, the more he withdraws to survive the overwhelm. He's drowning in emotion, so he holds his breath. She sees him holding his breath and thinks he's dying, so she shakes him. It's a self-perpetuating cycle of panic and protection. So how do you stop a biological reflex that happens faster than conscious thought? How do you break a loop that is hardwired into your nervous system? The answer is not to fight better. It is to stop the fight before the brain goes offline. The solution requires a counterintuitive move from both sides. If you are the one who gets flooded, you need to recognize your own heart rate. When you feel the heat in your face, you must ask for a timeout. But, and this is the most critical part, you cannot just walk away. Walking away without a word triggers the abandonment panic in your partner. You have to give a return time. You have to say, I'm feeling overwhelmed and I can't listen right now. I need 20 minutes to calm down and then I will come back to discuss this. That promise to return is the bridge. It tells your partner's brain, I'm not leaving you, I'm just resetting my engine. And during that break, you can't sit there and rehearse your argument. That keeps the blood pressure high. You must distract yourself. Read a magazine, walk the dog, stare at the clouds. You have to let the nervous system reset. If you are the pursuer, the challenge is even harder. You have to let them go. You have to trust that the silence is for the safety of the relationship, not the end of it. You have to self-soothe without their help for 20 minutes. Silence in a relationship is heavy. It carries the weight of everything unsaid. But it doesn't always mean the end of love. Sometimes silence is just a sign that two human beings have reached their biological limit. When we stop viewing stonewalling as a manipulation tactic and start viewing it as a cry for regulation, we change the entire game. We move from judgment to curiosity. He isn't ignoring you because he doesn't care. He might be quiet because he cares so much that he's afraid of what he might destroy if he speaks. Understanding this doesn't fix the fight instantly, but it stops the fight from becoming a war. It turns a you versus me problem into an us versus our biology problem, and that's a battle you can actually win. Next time the room goes quiet, try to hear what the silence is actually saying. It might just be the sound of someone trying desperately to keep their cool so they don't burn down the home you built together. There's another hidden signal our brains send during conflict, one that predicts whether you'll stay together with 94% accuracy. I'm going to break that down in this video right here. Click on it and I'll see you there.